This is Rosen Institute's Your Law Firm, where Ned Days and Lee Rosen cover management, marketing, finance, and new technologies for building the practice you deserve. Rosen Institute members received this episode early, as well as exclusive segments on handling employee expense reimbursements and an answer to a member question about motivating employees to be proactive. Get access to everything you're missing at roseninstitute.com/join. Here's Ned Days.
It's time for your tech tip. My wife loves paper calendars. She has several, one in her home office, one on the fridge, at least one in her classroom at school, possibly more. Try as I might to convince her that digital calendars are the way to go, she prefers the paper ones and the ritual of keeping them all in sync and making cryptic scribbles on them to track things that she doesn't want me knowing about. It does mean that I always have a few guaranteed gift ideas for Christmas, since she always needs several new calendars, and I get to hunt for ones with Australian holidays like Kookaburra Appreciation Day. If something isn't on my calendar, it may as well not exist, and I of course mean a digital calendar synced to all of my devices as God intended. But I will admit, especially when I am on the go or trying to add events on my phone, it's not ideal. I ask Siri to schedule something, Siri won't understand me or will get the name or the date wrong or think that I want to schedule a reminder instead of a calendar event. Not great. But I've been playing around with an app that at first blush seems a little superfluous. All it's doing is adding events to your calendar. But number one, it actually works. And number two, it doesn't require hunting for the correct day and adding events manually or even being particularly coherent. I can just babble to it about what I want on the calendar and it figures out the rest. Toki is a mobile app that lets you basically just rattle off a stream of consciousness brain dump into it, and it will parse everything out into individual events. It's available for Android and iOS, even the Apple Watch. It's also available as a web version, but really the mobile app is what you'll want to use. You can find it at toki.com. Its primary pitch is that it takes whatever jumbled mess of things you throw at it, either by text or more usefully by voice, and intelligently breaks them out into discrete events on your calendar. Essentially what Siri should do, but this actually works. By default, Toki uses its own internal calendar, but that's not very useful, so you can connect your other calendars from Google, Outlook, iCloud, and any service that supports CalDAV. That way you can save events to whichever calendar you like and move them around between calendars. This is particularly handy if you have calendars spread across different services, like an iCloud calendar shared with your family and an Outlook calendar for work. Now, being able to fire off a list of 4 things I need to add and have them all show up is pretty useful by itself, but there are some other very nifty features that make Toki a lot more powerful. You can snap a photo with your camera or upload one from your camera roll, and if it contains event details like a photo of a poster or a screenshot of an email announcement, it will create an event from that automatically. It's also very smart about upcoming events and reminders. Even when you are very vague, it will help you add calendar events at the right spot. If you say you want to add an event on one date and a reminder on another, it will prompt you to add either one or both so that you can make that decision on the fly. What's really cool is you can ask it to monitor things like stock prices, ticket sales, job listings, airfare changes, and notify you when those things change or get updated. I don't think I've come across that before anywhere else. In addition to the normal calendar notification, you can also have it call you with a reminder before the event if that's something you need extra help remembering. And it keeps context about your events and decisions under the hood, so the longer you use it, the smarter it gets and the more useful its defaults regarding how it schedules and assesses what you give it. Toki has a free tier. You can sync one additional calendar account on top of the Toki calendar it gives you, and it's somewhat limited in how many commands you can give it. There is a $4 a month plan with more usage and 3 synced calendars, and a $10 a month plan that lets you sync up to 5 calendars. I'm Ned Days, and that's your tech tip. And now for your moment of concise advice. A couple of months ago, my wife and I found ourselves standing on an almost empty beach in Drake Bay, Costa Rica. Not exactly the situation we wanted to be in. The road to Drake Bay isn't great. It takes a long time to get to the nearest town where our car was parked, and there's no Uber or anything. We'd most likely have to ride on the back of somebody's motorbike in the event we could arrange that at all. Boat is definitely the way to go, but there we were at the beach at 7 a.m. just as our email reservation had instructed us, but there were no ferries to be seen. The dive boats and the excursions had just left. We were starting to panic. Getting there hadn't been as difficult. On the other end, there was a proper pier. Things were a little more organized. They slapped some tape with the name of our hotel on our bags. It was a little bit loosey-goosey, but there seemed to be a plan. But when we hopped off directly into the water at Drake Bay, they just told us to come back to the beach the day of our departure, and that was it. My wife had booked the ferry online through a third party, which meant we had a confirmation email and absolutely nothing else. No phone number, no name of a driver, no idea which of the boats pulling up was even ours. A woman working at a juice stand nearby felt sorry for us and asked us what we were waiting for. We told her we needed the ferry back to town. She said those wouldn't arrive for another hour or hour and a half. So we sat and we stressed for what turned out to be about 90 minutes, but felt like an eternity because the whole time we were worrying, what if nobody remembers we are here? What if we got the wrong date? What if we got the wrong time? What if? Eventually, more tourists started trickling out to the beach. Some boats started arriving, although they didn't seem particularly concerned with who we were or where we were going. We were herded into random groups, not sure if that was for weight or aerodynamics or aroma. Eventually, a guy asked for our names. There wasn't a roster of any kind. He scrolled feverishly through a week or so worth of WhatsApp messages, pointed his finger at one, and hallelujah, it was my wife's name with a number 2 beside it. Frankly, even if it wasn't her name, I probably would have said, sí, nosotros. So we made it back eventually, but it was a little chaotic for my taste. There were just enough seats and just enough boats, but there wasn't much of a system, certainly not for us. We were given the wrong time, we spent the interim worrying, and we were basically a missed text message away from being stranded on the beach. There are worse places to be stranded than a beach in Costa Rica, but I think you get my point. Now, a few years ago, we had exactly the opposite experience in Montenegro. My wife had booked a whitewater rafting trip. She makes all the plans. I just show up and go where I'm told. The same as before, she arranged it ahead, paid half up front, requested a vegetarian meal, which was noted in the email because we like to be as troublesome as possible. We drove out to a back road lined with rafting companies. We found the place, and from the second we walked in, everything ran like clockwork. They put us in a boat on time. The trip went the length it was supposed to and ended when it was supposed to. The trip goes down a river that divides Montenegro and Bosnia, so there's actually a jaunt or two in a van across the border. Lunch came out. We mentioned we were vegetarian. Boom, they go back and grab us the special plates, exactly as requested, completely flawless. Right up until we went to pay, and they told us the full price, and my wife said, no, we paid half of that already. Which is when we discovered they had no record of us. Somewhat frustrated, my wife showed them the confirmation email, and the woman laughed because we had walked into the wrong whitewater rafting company. We were supposed to be rafting with the place down the road. We were in fact somebody else's customers the whole time, and their operation was A, pretty similar to be fair, but B, so systematized that we had gone through their entire operation. We got the right kind of lunch. We got spots on the boat. We were shuttled across international borders. That probably counts as trafficking now that I think about it, but we'll just let that slide. And nobody batted an eye because to them, we were just another booking moving through a process they had probably done 100 times that day. And most incredibly, when they realized what had happened, they didn't dump it on us. They figured out which company we should have been with, called them, told us just to pay them the half that we owed, and said they would sort out the deposit between themselves. They took the whole thing off of our hands. A couple of tourists who couldn't read Google Maps correctly and had finicky diet preferences walked into the wrong business and got handled better than I get handled at places where I am actually in the right spot. And that difference has very little to do with how good or bad the people are. The Costa Rican boat drivers might be lovely. The problem is that their entire business lives inside their heads and is scattered across group chats and in envelopes full of cash. So the second one person was unreachable or there was any kind of issue, the whole thing stopped and the customer ended up paying for it. The Montenegrin company built a process that runs with such predictability and consistency and repeatability that it kept working even when the customer was a complete accident. It didn't require anybody remembering us specifically. It didn't hinge on one or two people being at their phones at the right time. Instead of worrying we'd been forgotten about, we had no idea we were in the wrong place until after the fact. And even then, they took care of our weird little edge case. So I have a few questions for you to ponder. If you became unreachable tomorrow, your phone dies for 2 hours, or you are out of the country, hit by a bus, stranded on a beach, does your business keep serving clients or does it stop? What about somebody else on the team? If the client reaches out and his or her attorney is offline for some reason, boating accident, inadvertently trafficked into Bosnia, whatever, can they get an update? Can things move along, or do they all depend on one particular person being in one particular spot with one particular piece of information? Beyond those, how does the client feel about the whole process, or actually any piece of the process? This one is almost impossible for us to determine because we are too close to the issue. We know how things work. We are on the inside. We understand that there is a WhatsApp message somewhere with the details and the client needs to chill the F out. It's not that big a deal. This happens all the time. We didn't forget you, but the client doesn't know that. Without a system, you have individuals, yourself, your team members holding everything together with memory and Herculean feats of strength and a phone that you can never turn off. And anytime one piece isn't working, the whole thing doesn't work. And even when it is working, even though you know that things are moving along, your clients probably don't feel that way. And the solution to this isn't going big. You want to fix this by picking one process where a client actually feels the handoff going wrong. That could be intake, that could be the moment that the work passes from you to somebody else. You are going to need to get some feedback. You need to ask some current and some former clients, what isn't working? What is making them feel uncomfortable? What did they wish they knew or had or were kept in the loop about that they aren't at the moment? And then think about what is required to make that happen. What is required to make that happen in a way that doesn't rely on a specific person being in a specific place or sitting at a specific desk or having all the details at hand? Where can you work on your system to reduce the moving parts so it's almost impossible to deliver a bad product, even if the client is kind of annoying and has weird requests and can't follow Google Maps correctly? That's your moment of concise advice. Wrapping up from Jacksonville, thank you for joining us today. Never forget that what you are doing is important work. Small, consistent steps focusing on marketing, management, and technology are how we build better firms. And you are 1 week closer to the practice you deserve. Until next time, I'm Ned Days.
Thanks for listening to Your Law Firm. Subscribe to the Friday File at roseninstitute.com and join thousands of other lawyers who are working on instead of in their businesses. You'll find safe, successful, actionable approaches for transforming your practice. Join us today at roseninstitute.com.